The following video is intended for mature audiences. It contains horror elements, adult themes, and language that might not be suitable for younger viewers. Welcome back to another disturbing journey in the southern underworld. But before we get started, I'd like to ask you to please like, comment, subscribe, and share this devilish delight with your horror friends and fam. Engagement is essential, and it helps our little channel grow. Rising from the depths of Crystal Lake, Jason Voorhees has become a symbol of terror. This relentless killer, with his iconic hockey mask and machete stained with blood, has left a lasting impact on both cinema and the nightmares of viewers. Jason isn't just a villain, he represents pure unfiltered fear. His presence is a mystery that defies understanding, signifying not just a series of brutal murders, but the embodiment of dread itself. This analysis seeks to delve into Jason's psyche, his symbolism, and his influence on the horror genre. To understand Jason Voorhees, we need to explore the tragic events that shaped him. Born to Pamela Voorhees, Jason was a mentally challenged child who was subjected to ridicule at Camp Crystal Lake. His physical deformity and social isolation made him an easy target for bullying, a representation of society's broader hostility toward those deemed different. In the first Friday the 13th movie, we learn that negligent camp counselors allowed Jason to drown in the lake, an event that marks a turning point in his story, one filled with abandonment and death that would later drive his reign of terror. Jason's mental state can be traced back to this initial trauma. At his core, he is a tormented spirit, trapped within a body turned into an instrument of revenge. His drowning, caused by neglect, triggered rage in his mother, Pamela, who became the franchise's first killer seeking justice for her son's death by killing negligent counselors. After Pamela's death by one of the surviving girls, Jason picks up her mission of revenge. Therefore, Jason isn't just an aimless murderer, he is carrying forward his mother's grief-driven killing spree. Traditional horror films, like Halloween or Nightmare on Elm Street, often have clear psychological profiles. Michael Myers represents pure evil, while Freddy Krueger embodies nightmares and sadism with his dark humor. Jason Voorhees is more complex, a primal force driven by instinct and an unrelenting need for revenge. Jason's mental state is deeply rooted in trauma and abandonment. His childhood was tainted by physical deformity, bullying, and neglect. When he drowned, it seemed as if the world that had already rejected him had sealed his destiny. His return as a murderous adult symbolizes the ultimate betrayal. Each person he kills represents the counselors who neglected him. Each murder is a reminder of his unresolved pain. Jason's murders are not personal. They are indiscriminate yet symbolic acts of revenge against a world that failed him. What makes Jason truly terrifying is his lack of humanity. Unlike Freddy Krueger, who takes pleasure in tormenting his victims, Jason remains silent. His face hidden behind a hockey mask conveys nothing but death, an emotionless abyss. He doesn't kill out of enjoyment or cruelty, but due to an unstoppable primal urge, a raw instinct devoid of morality, empathy, and reason. This lack of emotion is highlighted by Jason's physical presence. He moves slowly, yet deliberately, with an air of inevitability. No matter how far victims run or how well they hide, Jason always catches up to them. At its core, Friday the 13th provides social commentary on the dangers of youthful recklessness, particularly regarding premarital sex, drug use, and irresponsible behavior. From the beginning, Jason's victims are often young and carefree, traits that make them vulnerable to his deadly form of justice. The counselors at Camp Crystal Lake pay for their negligence, a theme echoed throughout the series. In several ways, Jason acts as a strict enforcer punishing sexual transgressions or drug use. The final girl trope, the single female survivor who is typically more virtuous than her peers, fits this narrative perfectly. However, this simple view of Jason as a punisher is complicated by his status as a victim of societal cruelty. His disfigurement, isolation, and eventual death are the result of society's abuse. Thus, Jason is both a victim and a monster, a tragic figure whose actions reflect the very society that created him. His anger isn't just aimed at individuals, but at the world that rejected him. So, Jason isn't merely a killer, he represents the consequences of exclusion and neglect. The hockey mask, worn by Jason Voorhees, is an iconic symbol in horror films. It transforms a simple piece of sports gear into a terrifying emblem, erasing any signs of humanity from his face and replacing them with an unreadable exterior. The mask isn't just a prop, it's a visual representation of Jason's character, embodying the impersonal essence of fear itself. By hiding his features, the filmmakers remove his identity, turning him into an agent of chaos rather than a man. The mask also grants Jason anonymity. Unlike Freddy Krueger or Michael Myers, characters whose unique backgrounds are key to their identities, Jason isn't tied to any specific persona. His mask allows him to be anyone, or no one at all. He is both omnipresent and elusive, a constant presence of horror that can strike at any moment. This anonymous nature is key to his lasting appeal. The hockey mask also emphasizes the dehumanization in Jason's character development. He's no longer the deformed boy who was mocked and rejected. He's become an emotionless void without empathy or individuality. His transformation from a young outcast into a silent masked murderer reflects his loss of humanity. Among horror villains, Jason Voorhees stands out for various reasons, most notably due to his contradictory nature. He's both a pitiful victim and a terrifying antagonist. Unlike other horror icons driven by personal vendettas or sadistic pleasure, Jason is motivated by more primal emotions like raw anger and grief. Another distinct feature is his physical prowess. While characters like Freddy Krueger have supernatural abilities and Michael Myers represents psychological terror, Jason is physically formidable. His brute strength presents a unique threat. He doesn't need to sneak up on victims, he can simply follow them at his own pace, knowing he'll eventually catch up. Jason's longevity in the genre shows his adaptability. Over numerous films, he has evolved from a vengeful spirit to an undead killing machine, even venturing into science fiction in Jason X. Despite these changes, his unyielding quest for revenge remains constant. Audiences are drawn to Jason because he represents a universal fear, being chased by an unstoppable force. Jason Voorhees has left a lasting mark on horror history as more than just another serial killer. He personifies our deepest fears, the fear of death, the unknown, and the consequences of our actions. Although he's a tragic figure, a product of neglect and cruelty, he surpasses his backstory, becoming something much more horrifying. In the world of horror, where many killers rely on gimmicks or complex backstories, Jason stands out for his simplicity. He doesn't need elaborate traps or supernatural abilities to instill fear. His mere presence is enough. And it's this presence, a relentless, unstoppable entity, that ensures Jason Voorhees will remain one of the most iconic and frightening figures in horror cinema for years to come. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. See you next time. Thank you for watching.